Hello, AP Psychers, and welcome to Galusha's Corner. Here we're going to take a look at 9.4 group influences on behavior and mental processes. This will be part one of two videos on this. We're going to look to describe the structure and function of different types of group behavior, and we're going to try to predict the behavior of others, of the individual, based upon the group. So we're going to get all the way up to groupthink on this, which is module 74 in the Myers textbook. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. One of my favorite terms is two-part. We have social facilitation. We'll take a look at this. We have social facilitation and social inhibition. If you just use the definition, social facilitation is people performing better in the presence of others. That's a good definition. It doesn't capture all the nuance that we need. It is a great example of why home field advantage is important. Apparently, home teams win about 6 out of 10 games. I do think it's interesting that home team advantage is more for team-centered sports such as Major League Soccer or men's NCAA basketball, a little bit less for baseball, a little less for individualized sports. So social facilitation can be home field advantage, but that's not kind of encapsulating all of the importance of that term. Examples of it are when you're good at public speaking and your performance gets better because other people are around you. Maybe you're a good driver, you do better because people are in their car. Maybe you're a fantastic musician like Frank Turner and you perform better live when people are around you. But really a question we should be asking ourselves is, why is this happening? Why is the effect of others having a positive effect? Well, it's having a positive effect because either the task is easy or you're an expert at the task. So maybe driving to you has become easy because you are an experienced driver at this point in time. And so it's an easy task. The presence of others helps you, but that's probably not your experience, right? Like, you're relatively new at driving, so this probably actually hurts you. Maybe you're an expert at something, like you're an expert pool player, and what we see is that 71% of that they hit 71% of their shots alone, but they made 80% when they had people watching them. That's because they were experts. I don't think you and I are expert pool players, so this probably wouldn't happen. If you're an expert singer, then maybe having others around helps your performance. If you've practiced a ton at free throw shooting, maybe a clutch free throw shot in the middle of a playoff game with lots of people watching would help your performance. But for some of us, those things sound difficult, they sound nerve-wracking, or they might be a difficult task. Like, I don't know about you, I don't really want to perform wicked long division in front of a class on the board. That's not my thing. So the flip side of this term is something called social inhibition. Social inhibition is when the presence of others actually makes your behavior worse. Here, your performance is going to be worse because a group of people are watching you. It'll be worse when the task is difficult or you are not good at the task. So they are the same term, just flipped. Social facilitation, if I'm good at a task or if the task is simple, a crowd might make me perform better. Social inhibition, if I am bad at a task or the task is difficult, I will not do as well in front of a crowd. Personally, tasks that are difficult for me are singing and dancing. Doing that in front of a crowd, not going to happen. They're definitely going to make my performance somehow even worse than it is. Public speaking, do it all the time, maybe a little too much right now. And so this is an easy task for me. Even if I stumble over my words, I feel like I can write myself, which I've done numerous times in this own video. So it's a relatively easy task for me. So the presence of others actually helps me. I would much rather be talking to a large group of you in a class to get your feedback than staring at my webcam right now. So social facilitation is when you are good at something or it's easy and it is better in front of a group. What is social loafing? Social loafing is another term about group behavior and how groups can influence the individuals. Here, you've got a big group working on something, and the person inside the group is actually going to do less work. They're going to put less effort towards doing it because they are working in a group. This is one of the reasons why you hate group work so much. This is very common among males in individualistic cultures, such as United States and Europe. It's kind of embarrassing for men. Why does social loafing happen? Well, maybe the members feel less accountable and therefore maybe worry less about what others think. Members may view their individual contributions as dispensable. So therefore, you might want to have the individuals have roles. Maybe members overestimate their own contributions. So the way to fight against this is to make sure that students or members of your group have to account for what they did. Maybe members slack off because they are going to share equally in the rewards. This is maybe why some teachers assign a grade to each individual person during group work. I think you guys are going to be leaders in your fields, and I think you're going to have to get around social loafing. So it's important for us to know some of the reasons why that happens. How could you prevent social loafing in a group? You would try to anticipate and stop the reasons why it happens. Deindividuation is another term that explains how people behave in groups. Here, I think it's a three-part thing. First, the person looks around and they'd be like, wait a second, I'm in a big crowd. I'm kind of part of this group, not really an individual anymore. Second, I kind of feel like I can do what I want now, good or bad. Why? Third, because I don't think I'm going to get caught right now. So it's really a three-part definition. The person looks around, realizes that they are kind of part of a group. This frees them up to do what they want to do, good or bad. And the reason it does that is because they no longer feel like an individual. They can't actually get in trouble themselves. It's just the group, and I'm not going to be caught. So now I can diffuse responsibility off to the group. This is an example of this is when a sports team wins. People end up rioting in the streets and tipping cars. We get excited. It spills over. It's called the spillover effect. And you go out and you push over a car. You're not going to get in trouble. It's the group doing it. When you're at a concert and a mosh pit forms, and you're in there and you throw a punch, I'm not going to get in trouble. It's not my fault. It's not my responsibility. I can't get caught. The bouncer's not going to see me. I'm not going to get in trouble with this because I'm part of the group. I can do what I want. I can let loose. It is the loss of that self-awareness that is resulting from the anonymity. You think you're anonymous. It's also important to note that in deindividuation, there's an element of the situation fostering arousal. We don't mean sexual arousal when we say that in psychology. We mean physical arousal. You're excited like being at a concert. Unfortunately, in high schools, it might be seeing a fight in the hallway. That's an exciting event for some students. We'll get into why that's the case, a little disconcerting. And so they lose themselves to the crowd, form the wall, videotape the event. And all of these choices happen because I'm no longer a person. I've kind of lost myself to that mob mentality. So the fastest way to break this up is to call out individual humans and be like, hey, Josh, I think better of you than this. Why are you doing this right now? Trying to make them individuals, much like Scout did on the steps of the courthouse to stop the lynch mob in To Kill a Mockingbird. She called out individual names. So if a fight breaks out in the connector, how do I apply deindividuation to predict the student behavior? They're going to lose themselves to the crowd, form the wall, and pull out their cell phones. If I want to stop this, gain control of the situation, I need to make people feel like individuals again. So I would use names as I ran in. Now, groupthink. Groupthink is a way that groups make decisions, sometimes in groups. Here, you need to focus on three things. First and foremost, the group is going to have a bad idea. Let's just pretend that the other thing I would say first and foremost is not only does the group have a bad idea, but you actually care about the group. So it's a group of friends that you're with. It's a group that you want to maintain a good relationship with. So let's say a friend group of yours is deciding where to go out to eat. You guys list a whole bunch of restaurants. The idea of going to Taco Bell comes up. Now, I'm going to pretend for a second, because it's true, and if you don't agree with me, just kind of pretend along with me, that Taco Bell is a pretty vile place to eat. It's kind of like the human version of cat food, in my opinion. So here you make this bad decision, comes up that we're going to go to Taco Bell. Everyone's kind of on board. You're like, it's human cat food. This isn't good. And the Taco Bell by us is like super dirty. I'm not sure this is a good idea. Here, you're going to keep your mouth shut, according to groupthink. You're going to allow a bad decision to be made, going to Taco Bell, not because you feel pressure, not because of normative social influence, but because you want to make the group stay together and be happy and to be harmonious and to have peace. So you make this bad, you go along with this bad decision. And the key thing here is why? To keep the peace instead of causing problems. That's groupthink. It's the mode of thinking that occurs when we desire for harmony over realistic. So you're more concerned about the group being okay than you are about like where you're actually going to eat. A group of friends deciding on what movie they should see. One friend disagrees with everybody else's choice but stays quiet to keep the harmony even though they don't want to do this. And our last one is probably our most concerning one, which is group polarization. Here, group polarization, I think, is best defined by the picture. But we'll start here. Before discussion, people's thoughts are scattered all over the place. So I like this picture here. They might be scattered against or for a certain opinion. That's before. And then they discuss the idea. And the notion of group polarization is that this is how they were before, and then this is how they are after. They polarize. They pull to two areas. We also know that in group polarization, the more a group is alike and talks, the more they're going to solidify in their opinions and pull over to one side, become more extreme. Polarize. That's where that name comes from, polarization. So group polarization is the enhancement of a group's prevailing opinions through discussion within the group, or if it's a large group, they're going to pull off to the side. It's the beliefs and attitudes we bring to a group grow stronger as we discuss them with like-minded people. So the more we discuss it with like-minded people, we're going to polarize. It can have beneficial effects when low prejudice students become even more accepting while discussing racial issues. That's awesome. So here, okay, you got a group that is against racism. Yay, there's our baseline now in America. Awesome, we're against racism. Let's try at least that, right, guys? And the more we talk about it, the more we become like, oh, that's good. That's a positive of group polarization. That's happy. If a group is like-minded, discussion strengthens its prevailing opinions, talking over racial issues, increased prejudice in high prejudice groups. That's sad. So wait a second. If we allow high prejudice groups to talk amongst themselves, they're just going to polarize towards more prejudice. And that's where this term should start to really terrify you, because group polarization should sound an awful lot like what we get from the internet. You see, the internet offers us a connected global world, yet really a very easy, accessible medium for group polarization. It enables what I would like to refer to, and I've seen done in numerous articles, of these things called opinion bubbles. Here, you only ever hear from people with like-minded views. In fact, algorithms for Facebook and for Instagram and for even Google search strings are geared to give back things that mimic what you've done in the past or what you've liked in the past, which means the more and more time you spend on them, the more your stuff becomes tailored to your own little thought bubbles, and you never hear perspectives outside your own group, which means your group starts to polarize further and further away from the center. Conservatives connect with conservatives, and likewise, liberals with liberals, and we start to polarize. If you are at all questioning as to why our country is so polarized, it is in part, I think a large part, because of our media diet causing group polarization. So white supremacists become even more racist, bullies become even more abusive, militia members become even more violent prone when they talk just with their groups. The good thing is the peacemakers grow stronger in their conviction. Cancer survivors and bereaved parents can grieve together and they get strengthened. Social justice promoters become more committed and have more people support. So it's going to cut both ways. But it is very, very dangerous when you get off into the hate groups. So I want you to think about how this group polarization is allowing groups to just talk in their echo chamber and become radicalized and around a certain belief system without ever hearing other people's narratives. Kind of a terrifying term. And on that really happy note, we'll end for today and pick up 9.3 part 2 with the bystander effect. Take care, be psychers.